All right, so what do you think about pure water? Is this an element, a compound, or a mixture? And we talked about this quite a bit. This is a compound. Remember, H2O is a compound. It is chemically combined, the hydrogens and the oxygen. It's always in a ratio of 2 to 1. And when they're separate, they're very different from when they're together, right? The hydrogens and the oxygen. This is a compound. What about aluminum? Is aluminum an element, a compound, or a mixture? Aluminum is an element, and you can actually find this on the periodic table, and that means you can't break it down into anything more pure than what it already is, aluminum. So is lemonade an element, a compound, or a mixture? Element is a mixture, and if you're lucky, it would be a homogeneous mixture, meaning that it is uniform or evenly distributed throughout. Remember, homo means the same. That would mean that the mixture is the same throughout. If you're not lucky, then it would be a heterogeneous mixture, and that means that like the sugar would all be sitting at the bottom, and the lemon would all be at the bottom, and then the water would just be up at the top by itself, and it would just taste gross, right? So then again, heterogeneous means it is different, differently distributed throughout, or not uniform throughout. So silver, and we talked about this earlier, is silver an element, a compound, or a mixture? Silver is an element, Ag. You'll find it on the periodic table listed as Ag, which means you can't get any more pure than that. That's as pure as Ag or silver gets. So is sand an element, a compound, or a mixture? Sand is a mixture. Sand is made up of so many different things: a crushed rock and dirt and crushed shells and pieces of like old starfish and things like that, right? Made up of a whole bunch of different things. So sand is a mixture. And in the case of sand, it is a heterogeneous mixture, right? It's not evenly distributed throughout. Sand is different, it looks different throughout. So here again, we started off with this. Just remember that matter, this is what we talked about, is basically how you can separate matter into different categories. And so matter, if it is a pure substance, then you go into to the left here, right? So the pure substance, then you try to break it down into like pure substance. If you cannot break it down anymore, that means it's an element and that is as pure as it gets. If you can still break it down a little more, like this compound, because again, if you see this compound here, you could break it down into hydrogens and oxygens. But in this case, a compound is, as we talked about, right, two or more atoms chemically combined. But then you go to the right side where it says mixture. So again, if it is made up of different things, it's a mixture. And if it is a heterogeneous mixture, that means it's not evenly distributed throughout, right? So you see here, all those particles are at the bottom, and then the water molecules are like towards the top when you're talking about the wet sand example here. But if you have homogeneous mixture, remember, homo means the same, and that means it's the same throughout. So that means the tea with the sugar, it's all evenly mixed. So again, you don't have all the sugar at the bottom and all the tea in the middle, all the water at the top. You don't have that in a homogeneous mixture. In a homogeneous mixture, you have them evenly distributed throughout.